topic is politics.
Did you
politics?
Say tricks or politics?
Politics.
Politics. Okay.
We're gonna deal with. We are in the election season, so what we're gonna deal with is we're gonna deal with this election season coming up on, and it's really funny because what a lot of people don't understand, what a lot of people really don't understand when we're dealing with the politics and the ways of the world, is that Satan is the god of this world, right? And he blinds the minds of them that are blinded through what? His deception. So like a lot of times, if you talk about politicians, like if I say something about Barack Obama, and it's not the most glowing fact about Barack Obama, regardless of how true it is, people attribute you to being an Uncle Tom or a Republican or a conservative, which I'm none of those things. But it's like what I notice, especially when you deal with black and brown people, our people, they have a strong leaning desire to be progressive, liberal, democratic, so on and so forth. And it's just like tradition that they do that. When you deal with us coming out of the 50s, Jim Crow and all the stuff that we had to deal with, and you looked at how our attitudes and morals were, we had like 3% illegitimacy among us.
Yeah.
There wasn't no baby mamas drama. We were all somewhat had a moral strict code of the way we did, regardless of how right it was, thus saith the Lord, it was still some structure, format of a moral code there. And now we've gotten headlong and hill into this progressiveness, and look at us now. 75 to 80% illegitimacy rate. Matter of fact, it's applauded. Oh, Susan's having a baby. Who's the daddy? I don't know. Oh, but let's celebrate and give a party. Right? Yep. Run into abortion mills like kids would run to candy on Halloween. Right?
How do you convince people to kill themselves?
Well, you trick them. And it's the whole thing with you deceive them and you trick them, and you do it through mass media and all the things that happen to believe that this is the way. And what we're dealing with right now is we've been voting for decades, and we still at the bottom rails as a people in this country.
Yeah.
First off, you have to understand the ideas that was displayed when this country was founded did not have us in mind. And then even when they had to include us, what did they do? They came up with all kind of policies and tricks and schemes to destroy us. Like the eugenics movement, where Planned Parenthood comes from. That's the birth of what? The American Birth Control League, or whatever it was at the time. Yeah. And over time, Satan has morphed it into something and making our people think that it's something that we should support and deal with, when the goal is to destroy you. The goal is to destroy you, black and brown people. Margaret Sanger was not a friend of the black and brown men and women. But this is the stuff that's going on, and then the way we understand it is even in these politics. I made a statement the other day to a guy I was talking to on Facebook. And I got a cousin, he's all into this voting and politics and democratic, all things democratic. Yeah. And I was like, you know what, it's amazing. Hillary Clinton can appear and immobilize or materialize with the traditional way of Satan looking like that. Come with a pitchfork and a red tail with horns, and guess what most black folks still do?
Yeah, still vote for him.
Yeah, because Trump's a racist. Right? And this is the trickery that goes on when we deal with these things. But we're going to suffer more immensely because we're not paying attention to what we have to pay attention to. Look at this. Barack Obama's been the president for 8 years. Everybody likes to talk to the media spin about what he did good. But let's look at what's really happening to our people. Look at the slaughter in the streets of our people. The city he comes from, right? What has he really done to address the needs of a people? And then people want to get self-indignant. Oh, it's not him. He can't do it. Why? People got to take responsibility. True. Yeah. But when George Bush was in office, Katrina happened. the people weren't self-sufficient down there, and a lot of them died before it, but now that was George Bush's fault.
Yep.
So now people killing each other in Chicago at 11 right, his so-called hometown, it's not on him or his policies or the policy of militarizing the police, which comes from what? His office and administration. You don't, the cops ain't going pimp slapping him and taking MRAPs to patrol in civilian streets.
Well, why are you bringing up old stuff?
Yeah, I know. But anyway, so we're in this political season, and Hillary has been donned as the queen and savior of the people.
Well, she did go on that rally one time and she dapped, bro.
Right, and she last week she was at a soul food restaurant.
Yeah.
And she was at Black
and she whipped and nay-nayed, even though it was kind of terrible looking, you know, so she down with us, bro.
Right. Oh,
we got her back.
Last night she was on stage with Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Oh,
at the you know, so, and Young Sean and Crapper the rapper, whatever his Chance the rapper, Capper, whatever.
Yeah, but dude,
don't forget about that.
So
she was on stage with them.
We're gonna forget about the time she called Michelle that crazy name and called her husband a pimp, right?
Or
that's not that part.
Her and Bill supporting the 3 strikes, you're out ruling Arkansas. Super Predators, the 1994 crime bill.
Other stuff they did in Arkansas.
And all the other stuff. Now, we're going to get into this thing because, you know, WikiLeaks is an amazing thing. Going back to the statement I made about she could show up as the devil and people will still, support her and vote for her.
Yeah.
Right? Let's look at something, though, in the scriptures. Let's go to Daniel 2. Okay. Let's start right there. Let's go to Daniel 2.
Okay.
He's breaking down a portion of Nebuchadnezzar's dream about the kingdoms being established and set up. And let's look at something, because it's like if I talk about, I don't have to talk about Donald Trump because no one, black and brown mostly, don't accept him. He's a racist. I don't know where is all this racism going, because these lawsuits that he should have had filed against him because he so-called worth billions for being a racist and a sexist. Those allegations didn't start for years until he started running for president. Then all of a sudden, he's a racist. And name one racist thing he did or said.
He did call for no trial and the absolute death of the Central Park Five, but that's old stuff. But but people don't understand one thing: they're related.
Well,
they're part of the same system.
And this is the point.
The left wing, the right wing is the same bird.
Right. So when you read something here, let's look at this here. Let's go into the scriptures and read something Daniel said way back when, and we have to understand this. Read Daniel 2, read verse 44. Now he's talking about a dream, and he saw a great thing about, kingdoms. He's going to tell them it's about kingdoms being destroyed and set up. But then what's going to happen in the end is going to be this. Read that scripture, though.
Daniel 2:44.
Right.
And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
So in the end of all things, like they call it Internet of all things.
Yeah.
The end of all things, this vision is going to come to pass that Daniel was explaining.
Yeah.
The king was troubled with dreams, and he saw kingdoms come and go, so on and so forth. But it's this one notable king that's going to be established, even while all these other kingdoms are coming, raising to their height and dissipating. Another kingdom taking them over, raising to their height, dissipating. All the while that's going on is going to be a kingdom that's going to be slowly but surely being established and set. And the kingdom that's going to be set is going to destroy all the other kingdoms. And it's not going to end. Now, that sounds like the kind of kingdom that I want to deal with, because I don't want to be dealing with the other kingdoms that got what? Destroyed and
corrupt and ran by men.
Exactly. I want to be in a kingdom that's going to be what? Everlasting. Right? And then what it says here is that kingdom, I'm going to read it, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. So it's going to be, translation, one people, a certain people, that's going to be established as the heads in this kingdom. It's not going to be for everyone. It's going to be a certain people that's going to be established in this kingdom. Now, he happens to be talking during the Babylonian kingdom or captivity, as we say. Because the people of Israel were in captivity under the Babylonians. So he's talking to that system and that establishment, right?
Yep.
So now when we look at this thing, right, we have to understand that there is going to be a kingdom that's going to be established in the end. So all of us should be worried and taking note of what kingdom that is. And is there any requirements that need to be fulfilled to enter into that kingdom? Right? Because we like to think that what we live in, because we could take vacations, go to a Super Bowl game, watch a Super Bowl game, got cable TV, drink some, whatever the thing is. Now, I don't even know what the popular brand is now. I'm still stuck in Grey Goose vodka days. Yeah. But whatever that is, Moet and all these other things, you can do that, go see a comedian and this and that. You think that you're living. But this is not the kingdom or your rest. Go to, real quick, Hebrews the 4th chapter.
Okay.
Let's look at something. This is what we really need to be concerned with. Because we put our faith and trust in things that we shouldn't put our faith and trust in. Because another thing, when I tell people, listen, I stopped voting when I figured out what the hell voting was all about.
Simple, man. What's wrong with you?
And I get massacred because people have been, people died to vote. Well, they died in vain. Because none of your voting has done anything other than perpetuate you feeling part of this wicked, perverse system. Which it is a wicked and perverse one. Bunch of liars, talebearers, and just evil minions. And we're going to deal with some of that.
You know what trips me out is we had an election in 2000. I think the last time it happened was 1850 or 1830, something like that. Where the electoral vote outweighed the popular vote.
Right.
People think that's just a rare occurrence. It happens every election.
Right.
The electoral, you're not voting for a president, you're voting for somebody that can switch sides.
Exactly.
According to how they set up the system. And that's a known fact. But like you said, a profound statement. People trust and believe in things they shouldn't trust and believe in. It's like you believe in the Matrix and you don't want to see reality.
Right. So when we look at this and we analyze this, where we're going here is, we got to put our trust in something that's going to eventually place us, if you really care, in that kingdom that's never going to be destroyed that Daniel was talking about, right? So let's look what Paul said something, right? Read verses in chapter 4, Hebrews chapter 4, verses 1 and 2, please.
Okay. Let us therefore fear, lest the promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it.
So let me just give you a disclaimer or understanding, or edify you to understand this point. When he's talking about entering into the rest, he's talking about being kingdom worthy and entering into that kingdom that Daniel's talking about.
Yeah.
That's never going to end, so you understand. Read that again.
Let us therefore fear, lest the promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them.
Unto them, he's comparing us to the ones that were in the wilderness, showing you that what Moses was dealing with the spiritual guide of Christ, was the same thing that we're dealing with to this very day. It's the same gospel. It was preached to them as well as it's being preached to us, to prepare us to be ready and work ourselves into kingdom of heaven material. Go ahead, read that from the top again too.
For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it.
So now, what's going to happen? It's going to come down to whether you believe. And the scriptures talk about when we believe, we are inspired or we are compelled to certain actions. Say, like if I tell you that I got $1 million buried in my garage in between the two apple trees that's in my yard. You know my yard well.
Yeah.
You know, I got those 2 apple trees that sit to the one side of my yard. It's $1 million buried right between them. It's all yours. Just bring a shovel and go get it. So now, if you believe, what's going to happen?
That's like Christ said. If he remember, Christ said that if something is buried in the field,
right?
The man will sell everything he had to go get it. You know what I'll do? I'll sell my possessions and the things I'm holding on to. Go over to Home Depot and rent that little Bobcat thing on the trailer and they truck and go out there between them 2 apple trees and start digging.
Right. So it compels a certain amount or certain action when you believe. That's the what? The overt act of showing your belief. It's like with everything we deal with the scriptures.
Yeah.
The word is spiritual. You become spiritual when you what? Walk according to the word. When your actions and deeds reflect the word. That's all that is. So now what he's saying is that the children in the wilderness, especially because he's talking about them in particular in chapter 3, when he gets to verse 4, he's making a comparison to them and us, even to this day, about they were given what was needed to enter into that kingdom that's never going to end according to Daniel. But because they did not believe and have faith in that and trust in it, it didn't profit them. See, because we know the rest of the story. From the time Moses sat there at Mount Horeb, giving them the instructions of the Most High, to the one going into the generation that went into the so-called Promised Land, to now, those children have been in what? Distress and punishments because of what? Their actions.
Yep.
They're not doing the required or showing the required fruits of someone that understands and believes. Because we go into sin, and we don't trust in that. But we rather trust in man. Yeah. Barack Obama, Hillary, as a people. That's where we're going wrong. So now, when you read that, read verse 3.
For we which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world.
So now this was set from the beginning. That's why Daniel could tell you about this kingdom. Why? Because it was already established. That's why every prophet could tell you about the what? Kingdom that was going to come. Yep. And the one that was going to usher it in. The Son of God.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
That's what, this has already been established and set from the beginning. We have to understand that, and we have to operate under that. So now, let's get Isaiah 30, and let's read verse 12. What is wrong with us? What's wrong with us as a people? We go flocking to the voting booths. It's our civic duty, you know, this, that, and the other thing. I could almost see if we were voting for something that had some kind of direct effect of public interest. Like, and we even get bamboozled on things like this. Like, did you remember voting for a user fee?
No.
Okay, that was just regulated.
Yeah.
I can see if they all citizens Buffalo, you know, we think we need to do a user fee because we need some more taxes, whatever. Let's have a vote to see if it goes forward. That makes sense because it's a consensus of something
that affects
that affects you.
Yeah.
Right. But you don't even get to do that because most of the things that we deal with on local levels, state, county, state, federal levels is mandated by what? These different agencies that's just set up, like the Land Bureau Management Agency.
Yeah.
Land
Bureau
Management.
Of Land
Bureau of Land Management. And a lot of people get so twisted. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but you see what's going on in Dakota, I think it is, with the Indians?
Yeah.
They so twisted by the corrupt media that they believe that what they're dealing with is different than what those ranchers were dealing with that just got off.
Yeah.
They say, well, the ranchers were racist. It's the same issue, and the same enemy is doing it to those people.
Yep.
No different than when they put the Barclays Center down in middle of downtown Flatbush, Brooklyn.
Yep.
They displaced
people's houses,
all those residents down there so they can give it to a private entity and make a lot of money. That's not what eminent domain is written up, and that's not what the constitutional covers with land management and land rights for the people. But because we're so ignorant, We just take the boys racist. They let the racists off. They had guns, and these are racists, not even knowing the issue.
Well,
and it's the same damn thing. It's just divides you.
Yeah, and on a short side note, the pipeline in North Dakota,
right?
It was going to go through Bismarck, the city, you know, and the people rejected it. People got together and rejected. No, we don't want it here. So okay, well, you know what? It'll be too much of a fight, too much publicity. So you know what? Let's go put it through the Indian lands. Forget the federal treaty
exactly.
we got. You know,
exactly.
with them. You know.
Right. So this is the thing, and this is what goes on in this world, and we still marching to the beat of this world. And this is what we're trying to explain to people. You gotta come and you gotta what? Disconnect from this world. Matter of fact, let's read that. I was gonna read it later, but let's read it now. Read Romans 12, 1 and 2. We gotta be disconnected. We gotta come out of this worldly system and deal more with the understanding of what we believe and how we believe in it based on what's written. Because we're not gonna be seen as ones worthy of entering into that kingdom that's never going to be destroyed until we get our minds in the right place. So read that, please. Romans 12, 1 and 2.
I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good, that acceptable, and perfect will of God.
So, if these people in your mind that you're so-called voting for have fruits that follow what that scripture says that you're supposed to be protected, they're worthy of your vote. But if they don't, guess what? They're not worthy. Because they're what? Part of this corrupt world that you're not supposed to be conformed to. We're supposed to be examples to show people how to come out of this perverse system. Where it's not a politician in the world that don't... you look at a like my old guy on my job told me when I was young on the job. He said, he used to tell me a joke. It was around election time, back in the 80s. I think Ron Reagan was running. He looks at me and says, how do you know a politician? How can you tell when a politician is lying? I said, I don't know what. He said, just look at them carefully. Whenever their mouth is open, it's a lie coming out. Right? If they're yawning, guess what? It's a lie. But this is the thing. That's the image of what? A typical politician. They're very corrupt. They're not straight with you on any issue. They never do anything wrong. They don't lie. They misspeak. You know what I mean? I misspoke.
Yeah. Very careful in public.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why most of them, especially the federal level, are attorneys because they know how to parse the language with all that trickery and legalese and all that other foolishness.
Some of them ain't allowed to practice, but a lot of them are attorneys.
Like Bill Clinton was impeached because of his wickedness, but we ain't gonna talk about that. That's another topic.
That's old stuff, man. Stop bringing up old stuff.
But he's America's black folks' favorite politician and president. He was the first black president. A wicked, perverse man, even according to worldly standards. How do you get impeached from practicing law forever?
Yeah, usually it's just like a sanction for a short amount of time.
Right.
But other high-up politicians have been disbarred.
Exactly.
Including some of the current people.
Exactly. So now, when you look at this, go to Isaiah 30. And this is our problem. See, because we believe and trust in lies. Right? That's what we as a people do. But when we look at Isaiah 30, right? Let's go there. Read that, bro.
I got it.
You got it.
Wherefore, thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because he despised this word, and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereof. You know what? But it's a little asterisk next to oppression. It says fraud.
Exactly.
Fake people, but they're oppressing you because they're misusing you because they're fraudulent.
Right.
They're not the actual kingdom that we should be chasing to get into and be a part of, because this kingdom isn't going to last.
Right. Because it's not the one Daniel's talking about.
Exactly.
So when you look at it, it says this. Read that again, please.
Isaiah 30 and 12. Wherefore, thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because ye despised this word, and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon. The next one.
Yeah, read.
Therefore, this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant.
So now, what has happened to us over the years?
We've just gotten worse and worse. It's like a bubble's getting ready to burst. Like we getting ready to explode. We have exploded. Chicago exploded.
Exactly. And we continue to go through these tragedies and these things according to the way we deal with one another and our people get treated. Okay, let's look at our short history in this country. However you want to put it, I'm not going to get into specifics. We know that the children of Israel were the ones that was in the so-called triangle slave trade. Right? Some people will say, oh, it's Africa, whatever. But okay, we come to this country, right? We work servitude, right? Harsh labor for something like 400-something years or something like that. Forget how many years, whatever. Could have been 10 years. It still was too much. Okay, so now, what happened? Emancipation Proclamation. That didn't even free the slaves.
Nope.
13th Amendment. 13th Amendment. We are time balanced as well, though.
All right.
Okay, so we'll continue next week. All right.
The Body of Christ Repentance Network, www.thebocc.com.